I started in graduate school studying emotions, especially anxiety, and not the kind of anxiety that requires medication or therapy necessarily, but the types of social anxiety that people feel constantly all day long. And figuring out, okay, how does it affect different behaviors, like how we negotiate or how we take advice from each other or how we perform when we're public speaking, these types of things. And then figuring out strategies and tips to help people manage that anxiety more effectively. And one of my biggest findings was how we reframe anxiety as excitement. It's a very easy flip to move from it. It's essentially they're the same emotion because they're both high arousal. High energy, high cortisol, stress hormone, high heart rate, sweaty palms. You just change how you think about it in your mind. So literally saying things out loud like, I'm excited, change how your appraisal of it. So you actually experience excitement. It helps you perform a lot better in a lot of different ways.
So you did a study in 2011?
Yes.
The Nervous Nelly negotiation study?
So that one was about negotiation specifically. This excitement reappraisal, the paper is called Get Excited. And that paper actually ended up being featured in Inside Out, the movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's a great scene where the main character is about to have a panic attack. And Joy sneaks into the little cubicle farm of minions and says, stop drawing all of these projections about how things are going to go badly and instead draw how things could go well. It's so great. I was sitting in the movie theater with my kids and my husband kind of looked down the way and he was like, is that your thing? And I was like, yeah, it's my thing.
So what did that study show, those two studies, the Nervous Nelly one, but also the one about excitement?
When we feel anxious, as most people do in negotiations because it's an intense environment, filled with uncertainty and a lack of control, which is the recipe for anxiety, we want to escape. We either want to relieve that feeling by making concessions or get out of there, right? Just exit the interaction. That was the main finding of the Nervous Nelly anxiety and negotiation paper. The Reframing Anxiety as Excitement paper is lots of different ways to convince yourself that you're feeling excited just by saying I'm excited out loud. And in doing so, that makes you focus on opportunities rather than threats, how things could go well rather than poorly. And it has incredible downstream consequences. It helps you sing better, helps you do public speaking better, it helps you collaborate more effectively. So it's just a very powerful intervention.
And what was the sort of mechanics of the study?
So we would bring people in. You tell them, hey, Stephen, you're going to be singing karaoke in front of an audience. People start to feel quite nervous about this, naturally. Then right before they're going to get up and sing this song, we say, okay, an experimenter is going to ask you how you're feeling. Some of you, we want you to say you're feeling excited. And some of you, we want you to say you're feeling anxious. And that alone, when I say, Stephen, how are you feeling right now? And you say?
Anxious.
Great. Okay, let's go sing the song. You go. People who said, I'm anxious, sing worse compared to people who say, I'm excited. They get out there, they're more in tempo, more on pitch, they have better rhythm. And we measure it with a software when they're actually singing in front of the experimenters.
Just by me saying I am excited.
Yeah.
So the other day when I met my team members' family, I should have been saying to myself, I'm so excited to meet them.
Among other things.
Okay.
So this is important. It doesn't always work, right? If you're terrified and it's really something dreadful, like you're terrified that your mother's going to die, and turns out it's going to be hard to get excited about that if she has a terminal illness. But on the margin, if you're sort of torn between feeling nervous or excited, in your mind, if you can really convince yourself that you actually are excited and that things could go well, I'm going to crush this exam, I'm going to tear it up on the basketball court, that flip, if repeated enough, actually becomes more likely to come true. And certainly before a high-stakes conversation like meeting your colleague's family.
So interesting. I have this behind-the-scenes channel called Behind the Diary on YouTube. And the other day when I did Jimmy Fallon, because it's kind of outside of my wheelhouse to go on like late-night TV in America and like 7 minutes to be funny or whatever. So I was shitting myself because I'm a very serious guy.
Yeah.
But before I went out, there's a video of me and I said to my team, what I said to myself before the little curtain opened was, this is going to be amazing. Can't wait. You've like prepared for this. That I said all this nonsense in my head thinking that it was nonsense. And I walked out, had the best time of my life. It went so great.
Great.
And I made a video about that, how, I'm not one to believe in things that without like rigor and evidence, and I didn't have it.
Now you do.
Now I do. Now I have a study that proves that it's not.
This one is interesting. I think this was the beginning of my scientific journey, realizing that the way we talk to other people and the way we talk to ourselves, especially in a repeated sense, if you think about, okay, you did that before Jimmy Fallon. Now what if you do it before the next time you meet a colleague's family? Now what if you do it before you interview Bill Gates, before you do it, right? If you then get in the habit of telling yourself you're excited and that becomes effective for you, it's incredibly meaningful in accumulation over time, right? So just focusing on one time, yes, it's helpful, but if you can make it habitual, it has this sort of upward spiral effect on people. It was the beginning of my scientific journey thinking, oh, well, if we can study one phrase like get excited or I'm excited, what if we start studying the cascading, unfolding ways that people talk to each other? And not just one line, but like every turn of a conversation. No one had done that before.
And this negotiation study you did, what was the mechanism for that?
Yeah, that was a more class of the literature. People have been studying negotiations for decades now, and there's a really great negotiation course at almost every business school and law school that's based in all of this rigorous work. What had not been studied in terms of negotiating are people's emotions. It was about 15 years ago that people, even including scholars, came to the point where we were like, oh, people's feelings matter. When they feel nervous or when they feel angry, that's actually an important distinction, how you feel on the inside versus what you're expressing to your counterpart. So in this paper, what we found is as a base rate, most people feel anxious before and during a negotiation because it is an intense environment. It's probably one of the greatest benefits of taking a negotiation course is that you just get reps, and so you get more comfortable with the process of doing it. That might be the biggest takeaway from doing a training course like that. And so in this paper, we had that sort of base rate look, everybody's feeling anxious. And then what are the downstream consequences of feeling anxious? And what we find, we had people doing negotiations, playing these negotiation games. What we find is that people are much more likely to sort of leave prematurely or make more concessions to relieve the feelings of anxiety.
Make bad offers.
Yeah. Or it depends on your goals, right? If your goal is to claim a lot of value, then making concessions and giving money away is not going to help you with that.
So if I'm asking my boss for a pay rise, for example, and I'm very, very nervous, I'm much more likely to lower my expectations, accept a bad offer, and leave the situation prematurely.
Absolutely.
So what do I do about that?
Oh, so many things. If we're talking about asking for a raise, what you want is to go in there with as much sort of personal power as you can. One way to do that is to get another job offer somewhere else first. So we talk about this as the best alternative to a negotiated agreement, a BATNA. You want to strengthen your BATNA. So if your boss says, no, I'm not giving you a raise, you can legitimately say, I'm going to go take this other job offer because I just got a better offer from the guy down the street.
What if you don't want to take the other offer?
Then you need to be honest with yourself about how much power you have in the negotiation. You also probably, a lot of people make the mistake of going in sort of hands on hips, like I deserve more money. There are lots of questions that you should ask first to know, am I negotiating with the right person? Does my company have the funds to actually give me more money? How can I justify this in a way that's compelling to them, right? It's not up to you. It's that they need to want to keep you and to feel like you are being fairly and generously rewarded. And all of that requires asking a lot of questions before you go in and start making demands.
In that context, how would you try and persuade me if you work for me? So what would you say? Because I do think, it's very easy to get someone's back up when you walk in and ask them for money.
Yeah.
If you do it
100%. It's hard for me to answer this because maybe this is sort of my personal values. It's almost like I'm taking off my expert hat for a moment. I think the best way to get a raise is to be awesome. Do things that are valuable, and your company is going to give you more money without even having to ask for it. So in my heart, this question of how do we have a conversation where I ask for more money, it's almost like I would hope that you don't even get to that point. If you are truly making yourself almost irreplaceable and incredibly valuable, your boss is going to be coming to you and saying, I have to keep you around. You're amazing. You're so incredible. That's a much easier conversation to have than walking in and saying, it's not fair. I don't make enough.
I do think that holds it to be true. I think that generally, if people's first priority is what they want, then they often don't tend to get what they want. But people who have their first priority is what I can give, tend to get what they want.
That's right. It's so, it's a bit of a sort of like a mindset shift. If you prioritize other people's needs, if you're thinking about what your boss finds valuable, what the organization finds valuable, and you rise to meet those needs, you make yourself valuable, which is going to come back to you. Hopefully, that's the hope. And I think often that is the case. Almost always that is the case. In the talk framework, and we'll get there, the K is for kindness. And it's not kindness in the sense of like altruism, because I'm going to help my boss and do everything he wants because I care so deeply. That can be part of it. But also it's this sort of loop of like, well, if you give him everything, if you give the organization what it needs, that's going to come back to you. You will actually become valuable and get what you want as well. That's how relationships work.